Rebecca.
Chapter 2. Maxim de Winter. It was not such a long time age when I worked as the companion of Mrs. Van Hopper, which meant being half her secretary and half her servant. I can imagine how unstylish I must have been with my short, straight hair and plain face, always dressed in badly fitting clothes. We certainly looked an unusual pair as we entered the expensive Côte d'Azur hotel. I was the shy, thin girl following the talkative, fat Mrs. Van Hopper, whose fat body swung heavily with each one of her steps. My eyes always looked down while hers were eagerly searching for celebrities, right and left. If she found none, she would express her discontentment loudly in her unpleasant American accent. Not a single well-known face. I shall tell the manager. What does he think I come to Monte Carlo for? Certainly not to socialize with the waiters. She would order her lunch and eat in silence, for she liked to concentrate on her food. I would look away so as not to see how bad her table manners were. One day, I noticed that the table next to ours, which had been unoccupied before, was set again. Soon, the headwaiter was ushering a tall, good-looking, dark-haired man. There was a gentlemanly quality about the newcomer that made Mrs. Van Hopper stop eating and stare. As she whispered to me in a much too loud voice, her small eyes alive again with curiosity. It's Maxim de Winter, the man who owns Manderley. You have heard of it, of course. The beautiful old mansion in the west of England. I had never heard of him or his place. He doesn't look well, she continued. We can see he hasn't recovered from his wife's death. It was in all the papers. She has drowned, you know. Her interest in other people was like a disease. I can still see her on that unforgettable afternoon, trying to set a trap for Maxim de Winter so that he wouldn't escape from her questioning. Her eyes lit up. Run to the room, and look for the photograph my nephew sent me. Bring it down quickly. Then she turned to the waiter. You will serve me my coffee in the lounge. I felt like warning him when I saw her leaving the table and taking her place on the long seat between the restaurant and the lounge, from which he couldn't avoid her while crossing to the entrance. As I had anticipated, Maxim de Winter was talking to her when I came down. Mr. de Winter is having coffee with us. Go and ask for another cup, she ordered, to make sure he realized I was an inferior. But he remained standing up. No, you will both be my guests, he protested, including me in their party. He sat in the small chair where I usually sit, leaving thus the space next to Mrs. Van Hopper to me. She couldn't help showing her disagreement, but she went on, holding the photograph. You know my nephew, Billy. Here is a photograph of his with his wife. He is madly in love with her. He was still a bachelor when I met you at his party in London. You know, I recognized you the moment you walked in. But of course, you wouldn't remember an old woman like me. You are wrong. I do remember you. Billy is at Palm Beach now. I am sure he wouldn't always be traveling if he had a home like Manderley. I wonder how you can bear being away from it. Mrs. Van Hopper was expecting him to agree with her, but he didn't. Yet, she was not the least discouraged. I have only seen it in pictures. But Billy tells me it's far more beautiful than any picture of it. The park must be lovely at this season. Yes, he answered curtly. His silence was heavy with discomfort, but she didn't seem to realize it or mind it. His eyes were so sad. It made me feel uneasy, and he noticed it. He poured me some more coffee. What brings you here? How long will you be staying at Monte Carlo? Insisted Mrs. Van Hopper, unable to get hold of her sick curiosity. I really don't know. I left in a sort of hurry. A waiter fortunately gave him the opportunity to escape from her when he came to announce that her dressmaker was waiting for her. Maxim de Winter stood up immediately. "Let's not keep you from your dressmaker. I have invited some people for a drink tomorrow evening. Why don't you join us, Mrs. de Winter?" she said, unwilling to let go of him. "I am afraid I am leaving for Sospel, and I don't know when I'll return." As soon as he left, Mrs. Van Hopper expressed her frustrations loudly. "What a strange man. He left so suddenly. But he is so attractively elegant. And you were quite rude to him," she said to me accusingly. "Stop being a child, and learn to look at people when they speak to you." I sat in the room that afternoon, thinking of Mrs. Van Hopper's words when a waiter came with a note. I was about to give it to her when I realized it was addressed to me. "Forgive me. I was very rude after lunch," said the unsigned note. I knew it was from Maxim de Winter. I put it in my pocket. The following day, Mrs. Van Hopper woke up suffering from a high temperature. I called the doctor. "You have the flu. You must stay in bed for a few days," he declared. The doctor sent for a nurse, freeing me thus from my duties. The prospect of not having to entertain her along with her fat woman friends by serving them tea, lighting their cigarettes, and cleaning the room after them overjoyed me. I was so happy to leave her in the care of a nurse and enjoy my time alone that I darted down the stairs lightheartedly. I stopped in my flight, quite surprised to find Maxim de Winter, who was supposed to be at Sospel for the whole day, sitting at the next table in a nearly empty restaurant. He had seen me, so I couldn't go back. In such situations, I was very clumsy, unable to find the right words to say or the right things to do. I knocked down a vase of flowers while taking my seat. I sat there, helplessly at the water flowing down the tablecloth, my skirt, and my legs. The waiter was too far to see what a mess I had made. "You won't enjoy your lunch if you are all wet," said my neighbor. He stood at my side, dabbing at the tablecloth with his handkerchief until the waiter hurried, apologizing. "Set my table for two," he said to him. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly," I replied, blushing, knowing he was merely being polite. "Why not? We don't have to talk unless we want to." He made me sit down and set the example, eating his lunch in silence, but it was not heavy silence. "Where is Mrs. Van Hopper?" he asked in the end. "She has the flu." "Your friend, how long have you been with her?" "She is not my friend," I corrected him. "I work for her. I am her lady-in-waiting. She pays me for it." How strange. I didn't know that one could pay for a companion's presence. "Why are you doing this? Don't you have any parents?" "No, they're both dead." He then asked me about them. I told him about my father who used to be a painter and about the great love my mother had for him. She outlived him by a few weeks only. Then, we are both alike, alone in this world. "No, you have a home. I don't. Even a beautiful house is a lonely place if empty," he said. I waited in vain for him to say more about it. "Now that you have a free afternoon, what are you going to do with it?" I told him I was going to do some sketches. I had planned to draw some old houses in the other part of the city. I was going to take the bus. "Go and get your coat. I'll drive you there. You know, you are not made for this job with Mrs. Van Hopper. You are too soft, too young.